Okay. Hopefully this works. Hey, it's Jen, and welcome. I am back. I'm here at Stinky's Beach, and hopefully we get a little bit more light. You can see behind me it's flat yesterday. I'm going to cut some other parts of this video with little pieces of the last swell that we had, a little bit of lancha, but I just wanted to do a little intro, a personal intro to this video, and just mention a little bit about the theme. So this actually comes from a comment from a surf thread that I belong to, and I thought it was a really good question. I wanted to read it for you guys, and then I want to unpack on it a little bit. So, okay, so this is the comment complete. This is such a great post. I am in exactly the same position. I'm not a great surfer, but I love being in the water, and I'm trying to progress beyond whitewater and small green waves. I feel like my fear holds me back even more. For me, I'm scared of nosediving and causing serious injury or getting swept out if the conditions are rough and not having enough energy or stamina to get back in, as I'm not the strongest swimmer. I find that when I'm out the back, I struggle to commit to a wave and always pull out at the last minute. Okay, so there's actually a lot here I wanted to unpack, but I thought it was like, there's such good juice in here that I really wanted to share a little bit about a couple of the things. So what I'm going to probably do is insert what I mean exactly, because the poster actually talks about a couple things, and I want to be clear about what she means by out back. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the inside. So I will have some visuals for you in a moment somewhere in this video to kind of give you an idea of a visual. But some thoughts right off the bat. So a couple of the things that I wanted to address is, okay, so there's a lot here. The first thing was, she talks about progression. So she wants to progress beyond whitewater and green waves, small green waves, her words. So here's the thing. Defining progression is actually really important, because I think for the most part, there is a bit of a misnomer that progression in surfing generally means going down in board size. And I want to talk a little bit about progression in a different way. To me, progression is actually becoming a better surfer. And that's actually regardless of whatever board size you choose, and regardless of what kind of style or what kind of wave you like to surf. Because when you get to be a better surfer, what happens isn't necessarily that you want to surf bigger, gnarlier waves on a short, little, tiny, thin board. That's not necessarily, okay, that might be your thing, but that's not necessarily what all of surfing is all about. And, for me personally, I surf both longboard and shortboard. To me, they're two distinct styles, and they are complementary to each other. So there's a lot of things that translate from my longboarding to my shortboarding and vice versa. So I want to talk about progression in a more holistic sense, in getting better as a surfer, and actually getting better on some of the fundamental skills, because often the times that make us the things that make us feel like we suck are actually we're missing some really basic fundamentals. So the other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about in this particular video, and I'll talk about fear probably in headspace in another video, but what I wanted to address particularly here is the concept of the inside. Okay. So this actually, I'm not taking credit for this concept, because it actually came from a blog post I read from, I will insert the blog post so you guys can check out his video. It's another video on YouTube. It's a guy who specializes in surfing for paddle. I've linked to him before, and I will link to him again. He's an amazing resource for surf for paddle technique for surfing, so I'll definitely link that. But what he talked about was, in his question was like this: should I go out or should I not go out? How do I know if it's too big for me or too much for me? And this is kind of like underlying, addressing a big underlying theme in this woman's post, was like this fear, right? So hold up your hand, tell me in the comments if you've had this happen to you before, where you are kind of like paddle out to the back because it's calmer out there, right? But then, just like this woman or this surfer, she has trouble with committing to those waves out back. So here's kind of the problem with being out the back. Being out the back means that you're wanting to catch the set waves. So as a beginner, that might not be you. And I just wanted to say that that's okay. As a beginner, we're not necessarily looking for wanting to catch the biggest and gnarliest waves of the day, especially if it's pumping, right? We're wanting to learn and get better. So again, think about your relationship to progress here. The fundamentals of surfing means that you're going to have to catch a lot of waves to get better. So if like this surfer, you don't have a lot of time, you're kind of a newbie, the most productive thing that you can do is actually focus on catching more waves, actually paddling, surfing, and working on your skills. Not sitting, for a 2-hour session out back because it's calmer out there and then pulling back on every single wave because it's too big for you. Because guess what? If your gut says it's too big for you, it probably is. So, a couple things. This is where I kind of want to talk about the inside, or the concept of the inside. The inside is usually where the smaller and medium-sized waves are. It also means, though, that all of the big waves that come out back are going to be breaking kind of on or near your head, and there's going to be a lot of white water you might have to deal with, right? So oftentimes we want to get out the back because it's like being on the inside is a lot of work, right? Here's the thing, though. If being on the inside is too much work for you in that particular spot, perhaps it's probably not a good day to go out to the back. And I know that might be contentious with some people. Some of y'all might be arguing with me on that. But hear me out, because I think it's important. Basically, if it's too big for you out on the inside, it's probably going to be too big for you out the back. And you're going to end up like this poor surfer, spending a lot of time sitting around, maybe being comfortable, but of course you're not going to feel good about dropping into waves that are too big for you because they're outside of not just your comfort zone, but they're probably also outside of your skill range. If you're worried about things like not having the stamina to come back to the beach, we have some other pieces that we need to address, right? So I also understand that all of us surf in spots that are different. I happen to surf in a really mellow, kind of beginner-friendly area, so I have options. For example, we had some really big waves, really big swell. I got to surf this beautiful break behind me. It was huge and pumping, but it was also kind of mellow and slow. And so even though it might have been out of the range of a beginner, it still was like an accessible place, right? So some of you all might be surfing at a really fast beach break or something else, but I challenge you to try to find, if that's your case, if you have a hard time finding a spot that's kind of like more beginner friendly, wave condition wise, I challenge you to go out and look for different spots that are a little bit more mellow, places where you'll be able to handle being on the inside, and places where you can actually catch a lot of waves. Because here's the other thing with the inside, is it's often because when it's bigger, and a lot of people want the big set waves, often when it's crowded, everyone will be out the back. So not only do you have to deal with like those big waves that scare the crap out of you, but now you also have to deal with people, way more people than you probably would if you were hanging out on the inside. So being on the inside and surfing the inside is one of the strategies that I often use, both longboarding and shortboarding, to catch more waves, avoid crowds, but also, and most importantly, hone my surf skills. Because here's the thing, as a test, I know that if I can handle myself and my board on the inside, it means that I can actually sit there safely. It means that not only can I catch more waves on the inside, but it also means that it's like kind of a test to show me that I have the capacity and the skills, the strength and the stamina to surf that spot during those conditions. If you can't handle the inside and multiple sets and survive that and be okay, if that's too much for you, then actually it might be too much for you to be out at that particular spot and that particular day. And let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts. I want to know what your experience is and if this surfer's comment resonates with you as well. So as this light is totally disappearing, so am I. If you love this content, if you find really helpful, if you find this channel helpful, I would appreciate if you share the love. If you subscribe to my channel, it really helps me out, get this message to other people. If you like and comment, that also makes YouTube think that that this is something that other people should check out. So if you think that, I would encourage you to like and subscribe. Thank you, and see you soon.